Hello class 138 CS Programming with Python. So tonight I'd like to just talk about Python course, but the homework 9 dealing with Mercurial. So the first thing, I have now provided links on the homework site which tell you how to download Mercurial, and then also a package that I like to use, which is called Tortoise HG. Basically, it provides a GUI for Mercurial, and there's a few different versions. If you're using Windows, the two Windows versions are here. It also provides Linux, also has built-in packages, and then finally it does have Mac OS 10, and there's zip packages there. I haven't used the Mac version. I think some people have gotten it to work and some people haven't. However, I will be showing from Windows since MiraCosta typically only supports this. Just to let you know, in room 4804 on campus, Mercurial is installed on the machines in the lab. If there's another class going on, wait for a break, and hopefully the teacher will allow you to sit in the back row or something and use the computers if you like to use it on campus. The second thing that we need to do with Mercurial is going to a place called Bitbucket, which is a Mercurial hosting service that hosts basically repositories online. If you're familiar with GitHub, this is very similar to that, however it just mostly stores Mercurial workspace. So currently, if you click on the Kevin Lewis Mercurial, you'll get presented to a page like this. Right now, the source code is basically a text file, and then there's various people who have started to add their own Python programs as stated in the homework assignment. So let's going back to here. So if we look at all the commits, several people have already started to look at it, but you can see that some people have started to check in, and there's been a few merging and everything like that, which this is good because merging is painful when we push multiple branches up to the top. We won't worry about that now. So after you download Tortoise HG and install it, you'll now have Mercurial and a graphical user interface on your desktop. When you restart your computer, or maybe from the get-go, if you right-click, you'll get to this menu called Tortoise HG. Some people have had problems with the username, so if you go to global settings and go down to commit, it will ask you to configure a username. Simply type in your first name, last name, and then typically what they do in industry is put angle bracket, your email, angle bracket, just to know the email address of the person doing the commit. And that will set it up for all your commits that you do through Tortoise HG. So looking at the homework, the very first part of the homework is to actually clone the homework repository, which we were just looking at online. So basically we want to clone this repository to our desktop. There are several ways to do that. I'll show you guys two ways here. One is just to create a folder. We can call it CS138 if you'd like. And what we can then do for Mercurial is right-click that, go over to Tortoise HG, click clone. It will bring up this nice little GUI. If we right-click the folder, that folder will be the destination that we want to use, and the source excuse me, is listed here on the web or on the homework. You can also grab it if I've sent everyone invites to the repository, and you can also grab it up here. So either way is fine. I'll just grab it from here since this is the website and it's a little easier to use if we grab it here, I think. So if we switch back, what we do is put into the source, and we can then put in that information. You'll notice that the address is slightly different. The reason for this is that it will actually put it will put in your username here. Therefore, when it prompts you for the username when you do a clone, you don't have to actually put it in. So if we hit clone here, it will actually run through, and we'll say running. You can actually show details, and it will get all the various files from the repository. So we close that. Oops. And then if we go to the place where we cloned it, you'll notice that a green check mark is up here. This is now hosts your repository with all the files that were found online. You'll notice that there's already several people who've come through and updated the names.txt, and just for completeness, I'll kind of do mine here tonight. So Kevin Lewis, and simply find your initials and type your name next to it as a way to test it. So I'll save that, and when I do save that, you'll notice that we'll get a little red exclamation point here. Basically, when we get that red exclamation point, that means that the file names has been changed. So we can also see that is happening on our desktop with a red exclamation point in CS138. What happens if we right click it? It will bring up our HG menu, and what we want to do is, since we updated the names.txt, we'll want to commit that. What you'll see over here is the file that's modified, and if you multiply multiple files, you'll see multiple files down here. And in the comments for our commit will go into this little box. So what I'll do is I'll just say added the instructor's initials and name. And the bottom part, depending on what file we have clicked, will actually show you the delta. You'll see pluses for things that have been added and negatives for things that have been deleted. So when I click commit here, that commits it to my local repository here. And basically, that will, commit this change will take you through step 3. These next few changes are going through and doing a few different commands in Mercurial, but the next next most important thing is to actually push your changes up to back to the website. So now that we've committed our changes, they're actually available to then be used by the next user. So here is my repository, and we can see that it's here. For some reason, sometimes it doesn't always change to green, even though everything should be up to date. Let's see if there's anything else to commit. Nothing to commit, so my guess is it just hasn't refreshed. So one way to automatically cause it to refresh is say update icons, and now it's been updated. So we wanted to actually push our changes to the central repository. We'll go and click our synchronize button. Now if you've cloned it using the tool earlier, you'll actually see that it will actually put our changes into here. And what we can do for this is, if we hit push, we can push our changes to the remote repository. We're going to say no for right now. and we're going to actually look here. Basically, we want to make sure that this option, this force push or pull, is not checked. If we do that, it will actually cause 2 branches, and then the rest of your classmates will not be in sync, and someone then has to go in and manually merge things, which is part of the issues if we don't do a merge prior to that, which is explained in steps 9 and 10 here. So we basically don't do a force, but what we will then do is push it to remote repository, hit yes, and once you accept the invitation, you should be granted write access to the repository. Next, all you do is enter your password. And we'll see that now says adding change set with 1 change to 1 file to our repository. Now if we go actually up to our main repository and now look at the overview, we should see that it was updated 15 seconds ago, and we can actually see that I did in fact update it, and we can actually, if we click the commit, we basically see what the commit was. So if we look at like a side-by-side diff, for some reason this was working earlier, but basically it shows the delta, which is adding my name to that names.txt file. And then this is basically just a graph of all the histories of the repository. And that's basically one of the main parts of your homework, which is basically cloning the repository, making the change to the file, and then pushing it back to the repository. There's a few other steps in here about looking at Mercurial's change sets, and you can do that in several different ways. You can also do this all via the command line. So let's try just doing it via the command line to show you guys kind of how it looks. So for this one, I'm just going to call this one homework 9 so that I can do it easily here. What I want to do here is actually go to our command window. So I can open a command window, and I'll actually open up here in the folder. And if I'm in the folder, what I want to do is basically just clone that repository. So if I copy that email address, post it here, do command line, and hit clone, it will go ahead and actually do the clone, adding the change sets just via the command line. Now if we do a directory, we see that it added it to a directory called 138. So we can actually go down into that directory, and we see all the same files here. So we can actually do our updates here, and if we wanted to, for example, let me update names.txt. And for one thing I'll do here is I'll just add my email address if you like. Or actually, better yet, maybe I'll just remove the line from the file since it wasn't there before and commit that. So one thing that we can do here on the command line is look at the status of the files. If we do type HG status, it will show us that we've modified the names.txt file. We can also commit via the command line, which is done via HG commit. You'll want to add in some sort of message, so basically remove the instructor's name and initial. And since we used the global settings, it should put in our username. However, if we want to manually put in our username, we can do -u, and we can just say our name, Kevin Lewis. And if we hit enter, that should actually commit it to the repository. What we did is typed in our message, which is this is the commit message, and then this is the username. So if we do an HG log, we can actually see that the last commit was done by myself, and my comment, and the various change set information. So again, we can push our changes out to our repository via the command line. And I'll hit that, pushing to Bitbucket the correct information. Next, it will ask us for our username, so I'll type in my username, and then I'll type in my password. One thing here you'll notice is that it doesn't type any characters, so if you mess up, you have to basically do a lot of backspaces and make sure you clear everything. Hit enter once you typed in your password, and you'll see that it added the change set, the manifest, the file changes, and the one change set to the file. So now if I go back to the repository and do a refresh on this commit history, we should see two commits, one that added it, and then just a second ago we removed it, and now that commit is in the repository as well. So when you guys do eventually start using Mercurial, you should be able to see all these changes from the other people who have used it, as well as myself. And basically that's the basic information of cloning a repository, committing to your repository, and then pushing those changes back. When you add your own files, you'll basically do the same thing, but you'll add your file, and then there's two ways to add that file. Either right-clicking when you want to commit it, right-click, or when you hit commit, it will bring up the list of files. It will have a question mark in the new file that you want to add. You have to add it to the repository tracking, which is either done through HG add, or in the little window you can right click it in the GUI and then say add file. It will then change it from a question mark to an A. So the A can be seen in HG status as well. And then when you commit it, that file will then be added to the repository, and then you can push that file up to the central repository for the rest of your classmates to see. So that's pretty much the homework and a basic overview of Mercurial. Let me know if you have any questions on this and everything else. Thank you and have a wonderful evening, and look forward to seeing this week's homework.